This phase, which is overwhelmed by the economic crisis, all activities relating to collective rights, and the Court of Justice is not exactly recognizing all these people, and they put them at the same level of the free circulation and the free movement in the market. Well, there is no perception on behalf of the trade unions at a national level. In terms of labor rights and non-discrimination, the activity of the European Confederation of Trade Unions and the social dialogue, generally speaking, has been quite remarkable, starting from 1985, even before the ratification of the Delors Charter and before the Nice Charter. Some directives have implied a huge challenge for all the legal experts and jurists, for example, the part-time agreements or the open-ended agreements. And there have been a real challenge for the national jurisdictions, specifically the Italian forum, whereby urging the intervention of the Constitutional Court. All these directives are the product of the collective autonomy at the European level. Furthermore, we have other collective activities which are not translated into directives, even due to an express will on the parties, relating to a condition of the workers and its protection against the objective exploitation of the work organization or the harassment or mobbing in the workplace. All these discriminatory attitudes relating to the psychological or social or physical condition of the worker. This is what we define as the institutional social dialogue. Furthermore, we have the so-called free bargaining, which is not translated into European laws, which is rather bulky, and which is expressed in the different confederation, which is the expression of the different committees delivering interesting material. The treaty is not helping much. It is not helping the trade unions because it poses some limitations. Article 6 of the Treaty of the European Union in Lisbon establishes the recognition of the rights referring to the Nice Treaty, which is equal to the juridical value of treaties. But furthermore, we have rights and principle recognized as interpreted as the final provisions we were mentioning before, and that they are not enlarging the competences of the Union. The treaty reflects some competences which somehow are frozen. On the contrary, these rights should follow the trends, the social trends and the cultural trends of each and every country. That's why we have the well-known Article 19, which sanctions some rights according to the differences, as a famous Italian philosopher would say, or as for fostering activities, there is no requirement of unanimous approval. So this explains the pessimistic attitude of Ottavio on with regard to the proposal of modification of these gender directives. On the other hand, the other measures, the other positive actions do not require other interventions. The social policy, as it is described in Article 151 of the treaty, as we were saying before, all these norms are additional and are integrating some original regulations, leaving aside what has been produced in the general body of the treaty. In Article 151, outlining the competencies of member states, there is no mention of fight against discrimination or equality, but they only mentioned the old structure and body of rights, equality of men and women, and so on and so forth. In Article 151 of the treaty, there is no mention whatsoever of Article 19, which specifies the prohibition of discrimination based on sex and so on and so forth. The social dialogue is fostered at any level, but the social dialogue can be exercised in compliance with the different competences numbered in Article 151. For example, fight against social exclusion with the limitations I was mentioning before. We might introduce all the subjects in the fight against social discrimination. It might boil down into not attaching the right importance to the rights of the citizens. So citizens cannot be considered in the rights, but they should be all on the same level. There is still a mention on the equality of men and women. So the possibility to affect this legislation is quite limited. But on the contrary, the other activities can be open because the free bargaining is really free. The European Union recognizes and fosters the role of trade unions in this matter by considering the diversity of the national systems. It is referring to the industrial relationship systems, easing up the dialogue among the parties. So, if you will, the European social dialogue could be stepped up and could step up its activity by recognizing its rights, somehow backing and supporting the activity of national trade unions and the future activity of trade unions in this field. As for the directive on parental leaves, trade unions found themselves in a crisis situation. There was already a crisis situation. Crisis starts in 2008, and trade unions started this debate in 2010. I would like to know now what is the program on the European Confederation of Trade Unions, and what do you think to introduce in the agenda for the Italian semesters, considering the fact that Greece somehow has closed its files?